Yeah. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? You Can't Play Boxing podcast. Back for a legendary episode. Episode 56, I think, or 57. We'll check on that real quick. But anyway, how y'all doing, my brothers and sisters, my friends and family? Hopefully no foes. Why listen to me if you don't like me? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody listening. Woo! We had a weekend, my friends. We had a weekend. So we're going to get into all of that for sure. But before we get into it, let's get some of the house cleaning out the way. Number one, check us out on Instagram. That's a You Can't Play Boxing. That's UCANTPLAYBOXING. Check us out on Twitter. That's You Can't Play Boxing. Also, you can check out my Twitter, Electric Relax. You know what I'm saying, on Twitter. Another thing too, YouTube, You Can't Play Boxing. Also, what else we got? Our website, Can't Play Boxing. Man, we got a lot. And also, check us out on all major podcast platforms. Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Everything you listen to podcasts on, you can check us out there. So, now that we got all of that out the way, woo! Man, we had a weekend. I was in Vegas for a fight weekend. And I'm going to get into all of that. You know what I'm saying? Vegas on fight night is one thing. And it was my first fight night in Vegas since 2019. I didn't go to the Pacquiao and Ugas fight. The last fight I was actually at was a Pacquiao fight in Vegas, but it was Pacquiao and Keith Thurman. So it was over 2 years for me. So it had been a minute. And bruh, the people were out. The city was electric. Everybody was talking about the fight. Vegas was on 10, so shout out to Vegas. I flew out there Saturday afternoon. I got there, ate some food, went right to the arena, you know what I'm saying? And then I was out of there like Sunday morning. So it was a good time. A lot of people out, saw some celebrities, you know what I'm saying? You always see a lot of celebrities, especially on major fight weekends. I saw, who did I see? Saw Big Ja, you know, the comedy sketch guy. Saw him. I saw one of the guys from Insecure. Saw him. I saw Shaq. Quavo was there. Who else I saw? Andy Ruiz. A lot of boxing people was there. Ugas. Kenny Porter. I didn't see De La Hoya, but Oscar De La Hoya was there. Oh yeah, Magic Johnson, saw him. It was a lot of people there. Great night, man. Great night. These are the sort of nights that make you want to be a fight fan. You know what I'm saying? Nights like this. You know what I'm saying? Nights like this, I wish we had more of. It was a great event. A lot of great people in the crowd. I had pretty good, decent seats. As a whole, I would say the arena was about 95% packed by the time the main event came around. So I don't know where everybody was like before the main event, but when the main event happened, everybody was in there. So it was about 95%. It wasn't sold out, but about 95% sold out, I would say. But great crowd. No really foolishness that I've seen, really, you know. I enjoyed myself. I had a great time. And, of course, if you don't know, the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder 3 was the fight we're talking about. And the crowd was electric. And of course, it was the best fight that I've seen in person. And the card was pretty good too. They did a real good job with the card. So, before we I'm gonna get into the card, and then just so y'all know the timeline of this episode, I'm gonna go into the actual card, tell you the fights that I saw in person. Then I'll also go over my top 10, because how good this fight was and this trilogy was to me personally. It made me kind of think about my top 10 heavyweights in my lifetime. So when I speak about my lifetime, I'm speaking about the top 10 heavyweights over the last 40 years, basically. 40 years, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go over and now, again, this is my favorites. It doesn't mean they were the best, but these are my favorites in order, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go over mine. And of course, send emails to youcan'tplayboxing@gmail.com. We got some emails, but we're not going to get into those emails this episode, but we'll get into the next episode, which should be in a couple weeks. So, yeah, man. So, like I mentioned before, I had a afternoon flight, and then with my afternoon flight, I got me something to eat in the airport. And then I also placed my bet, you know what I'm saying? And we'll get into my bet. I went to New York, placed my bet. New York is that's the casino I win the most money out of when I'm in Vegas. So I'm always hitting up New York, you know what I'm saying? I'm hitting up New York all the time, because between New York and Aria, that's where I actually win the most money. You know what I'm saying? So if you see me in Vegas, I'm probably, if I'm playing, I'm probably in those two casinos playing. But when I placed my bet, then I went directly to T-Mobile after that. So I was in the arena about 4:30. Shout out to the supervisor at T-Mobile Arena. I had I had a little, knapsack, you know what I'm saying, with me, not a book bag, but, a little pouch. And the people at the gate were trying to give me they were trying to hassle me, saying that my bag was like 2 inches more than the height should be. But the manager over there the supervisor came over. He got me through there. So shout out to you. I didn't get his name, but he's a middle-aged white guy. Real cool. So shout out to you for letting me in the arena with no problems, because I didn't bring any car. I didn't rent a car. I came straight there, and I wasn't going back to a room. I was already there. Oh, I didn't have a room, so at that time anyway. So yeah, I shout out to you. Man, so I got into the arena at 4:35, and then when I got there, we were in the middle of the J-Rock. Excuse me. Excuse me. We was in the middle of the J-Rock versus Vladimir Hernandez fight. You know what I'm saying? I got there like round 7, round 8. And shout out to my Filipino brother in front of me. I think his name was Anthony. He was cool. We chopped it up a lot during the fight. He was kind of letting me know that J-Rock been having a little trouble. Hernandez was really giving it to him. So when I got there, J-Rock, Hernandez was tagging him. You know what I'm saying? And J-Rock, I don't know what the issue is. Now, sometime inactivity. He hadn't been fighting that often in the last 2 years or whatever. So it could be an inactivity type thing. But you know what I'm saying. He ended up losing that fight. So shout out to Hernandez for winning that one. It was an upset, really. You know, to look at it, to be truthful. So Hernandez won that fight. That was on the FS1 and ESPN undercard and everything. After J-Rock fought, you know what I'm saying, then we got into the main event on the ESPN and FS1 cable bouts, which was Berlanga versus Caceres, however you spell it, pronounce his name. So Berlanga, you know, a shout out to Berlanga and his people. His people were deep in the arena. Berlanga had some people with him, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the Puerto Rican contingent was heavy in the building. A lot of people from New York, you know what I'm saying, who was there. So definitely had the support. And you can tell in the first round, Berlanga was coming out and he was trying to get a knockout, you know what I'm saying? He was going for it. But Marcelo Caceres, he seemed like he had a plan, like, okay, in the first 5 rounds, I'm just gonna try to stay alive. And then once we get to round 5, round 6, I'm gonna put you in the deep water, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna make you show your worth. So Caceres, you know what I'm saying, he around round 5 or round 6, he started to make some adjustments. He was making it harder for Berlanga to really catch him. And my bad, y'all. I was trying to get this together. All right, so he's making it hard for Berlanga to catch him. And at that point, you know what I'm saying, Berlanga was kind of trying to press it. He was still doing okay, but Caceres is making it harder, you know what I'm saying? And in round 9, Berlanga pressing and Caceres seeing them open windows, he actually dropped Berlanga, you know what I'm saying, in round 9. And Berlanga, you could tell he kind of felt like he made some mistakes, but he ended up winning, and he won the fight. And it's a learning lesson. I think he needs to sharpen up. He needs to become more patient, work off his jab, become more relaxed in the ring, because he's definitely tense and he's looking for the big knockout. So hopefully he learns some skills as far as how to switch up, you know, your intensity. You know, have some hard shots, but also have some shots where you can catch people. So Berlanga was the main event in the ESPN FS1 fights. Then we went to the pay-per-view. And the pay-per-view was kind of interesting because we had all of the heavyweight fights were pay-per-view fights. So start off with Jared Anderson coming out of Ohio. They were deep in the arena too. He fought Vladimir Klitschko, who was undefeated, but Anderson, you know, he was doing his thing, but I think they stopped the fight too early because Tereshkin, to my understanding, he wasn't really hurt. He wasn't hurt that bad where they couldn't let him go. So they waved the fight off in the second round. So Anderson won. I like what I saw, but I need to see more. And I know Fury talks him up. Bob Arum is talking Anderson up as the next great heavyweight. I think he's down with Jay Prince as far as management. But I want to see some more from him. So the next fight was Robert Helenius and Adam Kanauki. You know what I'm saying? This was a rematch from the fight a year ago. Man, straight out the gate, Helenius, man, he was just tattering Kanauki. You know what I'm saying? And looked like I think he broke his orbital bone real quick. And Helenius just had that he had that swag, like, hey, bro, you the little brother. I beat you already. I don't respect you. There's nothing you're going to do. And it was over really from the beginning. And Kanaki was doing a lot of low blows. I guess he got frustrated. He did like three low blows. And so he was disqualified in round 6. So after that, we went to the co-main event, which was F.A. Ajagba, who was undefeated, but he was used to be with PBC. Then he was going against Frank Sanchez, who was also undefeated, Cuban undefeated. Frank Sanchez supposedly 29 years old. Sanchez does not look 29 years old. You know what I'm saying? Sanchez looked like he about 35 years old, but you know how those Cubans do. I mean, he looks like Luis Ortiz and Rigondeaux. They always say they're younger, but I don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? So Sanchez, he had a good game plan. Ajagba, he's a knockout artist. However, his defense wasn't that good even in previous fights that I saw. And Sanchez really kind of boxed with him. Sanchez is trained by the same trainer that Canelo has, so he's in camp with Canelo. Did a lot of boxing technique. Saw his openings. The fight was boring at sometimes because Sanchez was kind of dictating the fight, and he was making it more of a methodical fight. But when he saw his openings, he you know what I'm saying, he really did like take advantage of it. And so he dropped Ajagba in round 7. And in that drop, Ajagba was already on his knee, and he swiped. He just said, hey, that's not enough. And he dropped him. He threw another punch, and basically Ajagba fell to the ground at that point. And so a big win for Sanchez. Ajagba was just signed a top rank recently, so I'm not sure how long that's going to last. And he's also managed by Jay Prince, who I didn't see at the fight. I'm not sure if he's at the fight or not. That's interesting. So we got all of that shit out the way, you know what I'm saying? When we come back, we going to go into the main event fight. That shit was amazing. I'm going to break it down how I saw it and why I think this was a modern day classic, and we should all be grateful, and we should all appreciate what they did on Saturday. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Shouts out to our sponsors. Luxury Apex is sponsoring this segment. LuxuryApex.com is where you can find the most premium colognes and fragrances for women and perfumes for women for great prices. Luxury Apex has premium colognes and perfumes from Chanel, from Tom Ford, also from Dior. And just for you listening to our podcast, You Can't Play Boxing, they got a special promo code for our listeners. If you type in the code Can't Play Boxing 25, you get 25% off from any item on the site. Luxury Apex includes free shipping, so give them a shout, man. LuxuryApex.com. Premium fragrances, top-notch designers. Let them know that You Can't Play Boxing sent you over there. Again, promo code is Can't Play Boxing 25. What's up? It's that time of the show where we kind of give a shout out to our sponsors. The sponsor today is Anchor. Anchor is everything you need to create your own podcast. You can use Anchor to distribute your show. They'll kind of get it out for you. And all you have to do is do it from your cell phone or your microphone, however you want to do it. But if you want to get your voice out there, if you want to talk to the people, there's no better place to do it than Anchor. So download the app Anchor or go to their website, anchor.com. It'll distribute your podcast on all platforms. So again, Anchor. All right, y'all. Man, we back with the main segment. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get into what y'all came here to hear about, which is the modern day classic that we had last weekend from Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, the third edition. So again, I just want to give thanks to God. You know, I was in the building during that time, had some great seats. The crowd was electric, y'all. Like, it was 95% full. The ring walks were phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? Tyson Fury with the whole 300 inspired situation. Deontay Wilder coming out to this day. And bruh, like, by the time they got in the ring, bruh, it was just, you know, I ain't gonna lie, like my heart was beating fast. You know what I'm saying? I was just anticipating this. I knew with the back and the forth and the animosity that built up, you know what I'm saying? And what a lot of people don't get is that when you share the ring with somebody 3 times, there's 3 training camps that you have had to focus on this dude. Both people. There's 3 press tours you've had to look at this dude's face. That's the history that you guys have in the ring. Him knocking you down twice, you think you won. Him beating you the second time, you think he cheated. Like, all of that shit, you know what I'm saying, builds up. So I had no doubt this was going to be a memorable crossroad fight. Like, I knew there was a good probability whoever loses this fight may not fight anymore. You know what I'm saying? I knew they were going to give it their all because neither one of them wanted to lose. Like, I know a lot of fighters say that, like, I don't want to lose, but and you could tell because they gave it their all. Neither one of them wanted to lose to the other guy. And when you have a will and you have determination like that, where you don't want to lose to the next man and you're going to do everything in your power not to lose to that guy, that's a recipe for a classic. And we got one, y'all. So, you know, first round, Wilder came out, and to me, he implemented his game plan as far as punching to, you know, the body. But I don't think, me personally, even being in the arena, it seemed like he was rushing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't have there wasn't an ease by. It was like, okay, I know I need to do this. Here you go. And that's cool, but Tyson Fury and an entire fight, and that's what kind of gets to what we're going to talk about later on. There wasn't too many times in this fight where Tyson Fury felt like he was being rushed. He pretty much had his pace down. And I feel like with Deontay, even in the first round, he was implementing his game plan, but you can tell it was his pace was quicker than what I would like to see sustained for a 12-round fight. But again, it's easy for me to say. I'm not the one in the ring with a 6'9", 280-pound guy who's looking to take my head off. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that was 1 second, y'all. So, you know, that was one of the things I noticed even in the first round. Of course, I gave the first round to Deontay. I think that he won that first round on everybody's card. And, you know, I think that was a wrinkle. You know, I think Tyson Fury was like, hey, he was calm, but he was like, okay, he's giving me a different look. So I think he had to figure out that look that Deontay was giving him. And when we got to that second round, you feel me, like, Tyson Fury started to make a little bit of adjustments, but I still gave a second round to Deontay. It can be debated, you know what I'm saying? But I gave this. So going into the third round, I had Deontay up 20-18. And the third round, of course, Fury started to figure it out a little bit more. And he caught Deontay out of position. And footwork is a big thing in boxing, y'all, especially when you fight somebody like Fury who has come up boxing his entire life. I mean, he was named after Mike Tyson. His dad was a fighter. His family was a fighting. So his footwork has always been a part of his situation. So in that third round, when he caught Deontay with that shot and dropped him, the entire building blew up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was electric. And I'm not going to lie, y'all. Like, when I looked in Deontay's eyes at the time, I said, oh, man, it's over. I was texting my people and telling the people next to me, like, hey, bro, it's over with. Like, I thought that Deontay saw flashbacks of what happened a year and a half ago. And that's why boxing is an awesome sport, because what happened in the fourth round was one of the most epic things that I've seen in a meaningful heavyweight fight in a long time. When Deontay Wilder dropped Fury the very next round 2 times, and you think, oh shit, are we going to see Deontay come back with a come from behind upset? And Fury, this is why I've been saying to people, this version of Tyson Fury that we saw on Saturday would be tough for anybody to beat. Because as great as we've seen Fury become, we would only know that Fury has these tools because he had to pull them all out in order to beat Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder made Fury show his chin by getting dropped 4 times in 3 fights. Deontay Wilder made Fury show his determination. Same thing. Deontay Wilder was able to have Fury use his tools as far as his ring IQ. Deontay Wilder, how great Wilder was, caused Fury to use his size, use his mobility, use his craftiness. So we would only know that Tyson Fury has all of those tools on display because he was forced to use it by fighting another great heavyweight. That's how, it's the eye test with me, you know what I'm saying? It's the eye test. You know, a lot of fighters may have 1 or 2 tools. Some of them have 3 tools. But Tyson Fury is a 5-tool fighter. And he had to use them all in order to get past Deontay Wilder. And he got dropped twice. And a lot of people would have got nervous. But he bit down and got up. And that's the thing about it. Like, that's how I know Tyson Fury, when he's focused, that type of performance is only given by somebody who has tools of an all-time great. Now it's going to be, it's going to be, seeing whether or not he is an all-time great. I think right now he's the greatest of this era for sure. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But of course, this is heavyweight boxing, so it's easy for somebody to not be focused, and you get clipped. So 5th round happens. Tyson Fury regains his composure, starts to kind of turn the tide. 6th round happens, kind of the same thing. Now Deontay Wilder was in those rounds. It's just that Tyson Fury, he had more control. He felt like he was controlling the fight. Even in those closer rounds, he felt like he had more control over the fight. And Deontay was kind of like, he was following his string, so he was following Tyson Fury. And in the 7th round, Tyson Fury landed a monster shot. And that's when I kind of saw the desperation happen a little bit with Deontay. I think his legs were entirely gone at that time. But even still, like, you thought Deontay's out of it. And then in the 8th and 9th round, he'll do some things like, what the fuck? how did he have strength in order to turn Tyson Fury, start welling on it and buzz him? You know, you're thinking he's out and he displays his heart. Like, how did he do this? You know what I'm saying? And in the 10th round, of course, Deontay Wilder, he's throwing those haymakers, and he went back to bad habits as he started getting beat on, which, of course, is easy for me to say being outside, because when you're in the ring, you're going to go with what you know. But the discipline went out the door. And, you know, one of the things I never did like, now, I love Deontay Wilder as a fighter. I mean, I think he's special. I mean, what fighter do you know that has dropped he has a KO or has dropped every opponent that he's faced? Stavern didn't get dropped. He didn't get dropped the first fight, but the rematch, you saw what happened. He's dropped every opponent that he's ever faced or knocked him out with a TKO KO. That's special. I don't care what you say. You may say he didn't face the competition. Number one, he's facing the competition that's out in heavyweight during this time period. He can't go in the lab and produce more heavyweights that are to the critics' liking. You know what I'm saying? He's fighting the best people. I mean, some of the best people that are out there. I mean, of course, you can't fight everybody, you know, but to drop everybody that you fought, that's a special, special fighter. And you don't just drop them on chance because they're coming out for your head, too. But one of the things I didn't like is on Deontay Wilder, he's always kept his hands down too low for too long. And, of course, you know, he didn't. And that's going to, fighting somebody like Tyson Fury, that's going to, you know what I mean, that's going to hurt you. And that's what happened, and that's in this situation, especially as you lose your legs, you're a sitting target, and at that point, somebody as skilled as Tyson Fury is going to tee off on you. So, 11th round, you know, we got the epic knockdown, and the fight was called off. But I want to say this: how brutal this fight was. And how these guys gave it their all. I've told people this is the modern day Thriller in Manila. Like, Tyson Fury is Muhammad Ali. Deontay Wilder is Joe Frazier. Just because Muhammad Ali beat Joe Frazier 2 times out of 3 times don't mean that Joe Frazier is the Hall of Famer. And it's the same thing I feel about Deontay Wilder. Just because Tyson Fury beat him 2 out of 3 times. And I hate this shit about, he beat him 3 times. He did not beat him 3 times in my mind. Like, that first fight was deservedly a draw in my mind. I think Deontay Wilder won 4 rounds. And with the 2 knockdowns, you get a draw. So, you know, I think one of the things that people need to do is, hold on a second, y'all. One of the things people need to do is stop having this revisionist history, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I think that first fight was deservedly a draw. And, of course, Tyson Fury won the second and third fight. So, to me, Tyson Fury is Muhammad Ali. Deontay Wilder is Joe Frazier. I think the version that we saw of both of them on Saturday would beat any other heavyweight in this era. Now, going down the line, you know, of course, going forward, if Tyson Fury isn't as focused as he on other fights as he was for these 2 Wilder fights, of course, any other heavyweight, it takes one punch. Any heavyweight can get beat. And I think Usyk would be an interesting fight. That's why I want to kind of hold that out. But I think if Tyson Fury uses his ring IQ and uses a similar tactic as far as using his body weight, he would be able to beat Usyk too. It would be an interesting fight, but I think he would be able to beat Usyk also. And for Deontay Wilder, I know that the word got out that he doesn't plan on retiring. Me personally, I would only come back for a major fight if I'm going. And the only major fight to me that makes sense is a fight against Anthony Joshua if Joshua loses. I wouldn't fight Usyk. Usyk is not really a good style matchup, and if he loses to Joshua, it's not really anything for you. Deontay Wilder's made a lot of money, so I don't think he has to worry about chasing stuff. And one of the things I always said about this fight, Deontay Wilder, he put it all on the line. And that's what you want as a boxing fan. You want fighters to put it all on the line. Now, the only thing about that, when you put it all on the line, and you put all the chips to the middle of the table, if you lose, that's a big gamble you made, and you pay for it. This fight took some enjoyment out of Deontay Wilder's life. Now, I don't want to be predetermined anything, but this fight took some tread off his tires when it comes to his boxing career, at minimal. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to see. I respect him even more. Matter of fact, Deontay Wilder is probably the only fighter, one of the few fighters who has gained in stature in a loss in my rankings versus maybe anyone else. I respect him even more because what he did as a man, what both of them did as a man, over 99% of the human population could not do. You got to think about it. If you get knocked down, if you're Deontay Wilder and you come in with a plan, you think this guy did you wrong for a year and a half, but he beat your ass a year and a half ago, but you think he cheated. And then when you get knocked down in the third round, don't you think those flashbacks come in your mind like, damn, is this shit gonna happen again? And then for you to not give in to those, because a lot of people fold at that point. A lot of people fold at the first sign of a flashback. He didn't fold. He came back and he knocked down the monster at that time. And to do that takes some heart. And for Tyson Fury to get up takes heart also. And for Tyson Fury not to panic takes hella heart, you know what I'm saying? And so, man, these guys, I respect these guys so much. They gave it their all. Like I said, to me, it's the modern day Thriller in Manila. I'm so grateful to have been there and saw it live. You know what I'm saying? Like this was the shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be talking about this fight 10, 20 years, telling my kids and grandkids about how great this fight was. And for the people who downplaying it, I don't listen to them because a lot of motherfuckers don't know shit about boxing. Not to be, cocky or nothing, but a lot of motherfuckers just don't know about boxing. They don't know the eye test. They don't know what it takes. They don't know what it takes to prepare for a fight, how much you got to give in training camp, how much you got to give to have another guy as big as you or even more than you. He's trying to take your head off, and how much preparation, and it takes a lot. That's why boxing is my favorite sport, because there's nowhere to hide. You know what I'm saying? Who you are made of inside is going to show. And we saw who both of them were made up on the inside. There's nothing to be ashamed of from either one of these guys. Like, in boxing, it's going to take off your costume. Eventually, you're going to find out who you are on the inside. And when Deontay Wilder was revealed for what he was on the inside, you saw a warrior. He's always said he was willing to pay that price. And when Tyson Fury was dropped and had to bite down, you saw a warrior also, a Spartan, as he would say. So both of these guys deserve respect, and that's why you really got to do the eye test. This was an awesome fight. And going forward, and I will also say this. Going forward, we were able to see a card like this and And this type of fight brings out the best in boxing. These are the type of fights that we live for in boxing. This is what makes us all boxing fans, you know what I mean? And to think about it, in order to get this fight, two of the biggest boxing promoters had to work together. We don't get this fight without that. So I hope these promoters look at that lesson and see how much, even though, yeah, you can make more money sometimes doing it alone, the legendary nights, you look at De La Hoya and Trinidad, you look at a lot of legendary nights typically happen when it cross promotions, man. So you get those special nights when you put the best versus the best. You say, fuck it, we split this money up. We gonna make it and we gonna do something big. And you get special nights like we had on October 9th in Vegas. So shout out to PBC, shout out to Top Rank, shout out to the entire teams over there. From what I understand, they worked well over this past weekend and throughout this entire promotion. You saw social media teams weren't being biased. They showed everything. So this is what boxing needs. And from my understanding too, this fight is trending towards like 1 million pay-per-views bought. So a fight like this done big business during this pandemic. There's a lot of people in Vegas for it. The hotels were packed. The casinos were packed. So this is an awesome night for boxing. This is why, we boxing fans, and this is why we listen and watch and follow the content. So I'm just extremely proud of both fighters, extremely proud of Deontay Wilder. He has nothing to be ashamed of. I think he's the second best heavyweight of this era. Tyson Fury feels the same way. And, these are awesome fighters. And this is something that we don't get too often as far as a trilogy. I guess this is definitely the best trilogy in the heavyweight since Riddick Bowe and Holyfield. And, it had the drama in the first fight, had the shock of the second fight, it had the drama of the third fight. And this trilogy was, over the last 3-4 years, it was something awesome to see. And, we got to really appreciate that. I know some boxing fans can be a little fickle, but we coming at the whatever you may think. We probably have a good 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 years at most, of seeing Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury be in the mix. And this heavyweight era that those three have had, basically, which have started since about 2015, as far as them being champions. This heavyweight era to last, basically 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, hopefully. We don't get this in heavyweights too often because I love Vladimir Klitschko. I think he was a good champion, but he didn't produce the classic fights on his own by himself that you saw Anthony Joshua produce with Klitschko. You saw Fury Wilder 1, Fury Wilder 3, even Fury Wilder 2 was a shocking fight. Ortiz Wilder 2, Ortiz Wilder 1. So we this is a special era, you know what I'm saying? Because before this era, we had the Klitschko era, and, it wasn't as exciting. We had to go back to the 90s to have an exciting heavyweight era, you know what I mean? And of course, Tyson went against Lennox Lewis in, I guess, 02. But we had been basically about 15 years of not seeing something like this with heavyweights. We would always say, the heavyweight division we need some Americans. It's not how it used to be. Well, we've had a great heavyweight division the last 6 years. And, the window is about to close for these three guys. And odds are we're not going to get this sort of action. It may take another 5 years, may take another 10 years, maybe 15. So appreciate it. Appreciate what all these guys have given us. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, because this is a special time in heavyweight boxing. And I'm just glad I was able to witness it. And in my mind, both Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, they stamped their Hall of Fame ticket Saturday night. This was a defining moment for both of them. So shout out to them. All right, man, we've gone a long time. All right, so what should happen next? Fury, he is the WBC champion and also the lineal champion. Dillian White is he's the mandatory. I don't think Fury really wants to fight Dillian White, but if he wants to keep the belt, he has to. But a fight against White will be a dangerous fight for Fury because most people look at Dillian White as a step down. And Tyson Fury, he does tend to have, in the past, have a trouble focusing, like he fights down to his competition. That's why you saw the Otto Wallen fight and the fight before that too. Fury kind of plays down to his competition. And the Dillian White fight could be him playing down to his competition. And in a heavyweight fight, it just takes one punch to change everything. Even though he has a killer chin, if Tyson Fury doesn't bring his A game and Dillian White brings his A game and Tyson Fury brings his C game, that can be enough, So I know he doesn't want to fight Dillian White because it doesn't really, once you fight the best, why would you want to go fight the lower rungs again? You know what I mean? That doesn't really excite you to go to training camp. You know what I mean? I don't really get excited to go to training camp and fight this guy who's lost multiple times. It's not really an exciting fight. If I'm in Tyson Fury's shoes, it's not an exciting fight for me to get excited for. Now, if you want to keep the belt, you got to do it, but I can see that being something he may be looking to get out of if he can. I'm not sure if it's possible if he wants to keep the belt. For Wilder, I think me personally, you heard what I said earlier, I think he should look at retirement unless there's an Anthony Joshua fight and he wants to kind of do that one. But like I said, he has extreme respect for me. One of the biggest hearts in boxing of all time, especially in the heavyweight division. That was an historic display. You went down the history books on that one, bro. Like, this is a historic moment. So, all right, speaking about history books, we're going to wrap up this episode real quick, but what I'm going to do is go over my top 10 heavyweights of my lifetime. So, number 10, a guy who we just spoke about, he ran the heavyweight division for a decade. Fights weren't that exciting. Fought a safety first style. But hell, he was, like I said, he was at the top of the division for at least 25% of my lifetime. So number 10, I got Vladimir Klitschko. Number 9, another guy we just talked about, still active. And like I said, these are my favorite fighters. It doesn't mean these are the greatest fighters. These are my favorite fighters of my lifetime in heavyweight. Number 9 is Anthony Joshua. Regardless of what you say, he's typically always in exciting matches. So he's my number 9 favorite heavyweight of my lifetime. Number 8 is another guy who had a trilogy, the last big heavyweight trilogy in the 90s. When I'm talking about Hall of Famer Riddick, Bowe. Had a trilogy with Evander Holyfield. Number 7 is my favorite Klitschko. One that really doesn't get the recognition that he should get, in my mind. I think he was greater than Vladimir because he had more heart to me. You know, I'm not trying to denigrate Vladimir because anytime you get in the ring, you got to have heart. But this guy he's a killer, you know what I'm saying? And that's his brother, Vitaly Klitschko. He's that dude. He's that dude. Number 6 is the guy we just talked about. Another guy who has hella heart. He displayed it, gave it his all. True warrior to this day. I'm talking about Deontay Wilder, my number 6 on my favorite heavyweights of my lifetime. Number 5 is a guy who doesn't get that much credit because he also, a lot of times, you don't get the praise if your competition doesn't match up to your skills. But this guy, he reigned the heavyweight division in the early 80s and late 70s. And he was a beast. I'm talking about Larry Holmes. Number 4 is a guy who reigned the heavyweight division from the late 80s till about the mid 90s. We're talking about Iron Mike Tyson. Number 3 is going to surprise y'all, but after his performance on Saturday, he vaulted up because he showed determination, his chin, he showed ring IQ, he showed his mobility. He has hella size, 6'9", 280 pounds. And he's my number 3 right now, Tyson Fury. My favorite heavyweights in my lifetime. Number 2 is guy started off as cruiserweight, Olympian, been in fights with pretty much half of the people that were on this list. He was in the fight with Riddick Bowe, Mike Tyson, and Lennox Lewis. So yeah, 3 of the people that's on this list. I'm talking about Evander Holyfield, undersized, but was always in every fight. And he beat Lennox Lewis the first time to me, beat Riddick Bowe, and of course beat Mike Tyson twice. So he's my number 2 favorite heavyweight of my lifetime. And number 1 is who we just talked about. He fought Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, and he fought Vitaly Klitschko. Didn't get a chance to fight Riddick Bowe, and out of all of those, he won all of those fights except Evander Holyfield to me beat him the first fight, but he got the draw. But my number 1 favorite heavyweight of my lifetime is Lennox Lewis. So y'all, this was a long episode. We had a lot to go over. I appreciate everybody. We're going to wrap this up real quick. And what that means is that you can check me out on social media, on Instagram. That's You Can't Play Boxing. That's UCANTPLAYBOXING. Also check me out on my website, Can't Play Boxing. Also check us out on YouTube, You Can't Play Boxing. Twitter, You Can't Play Boxing. And y'all, we're going to be back in a couple weeks. We're going to talk about that Shakur Stevenson and Jamel Herring fight that's coming up. So again, this is an epic weekend. This is the type of weekend that we want in boxing. And until next time, y'all, peace.